So real quick, why was there this rise of a conservative consensus after 1945 to 52, and why was there a retreat from politics on the part of radical leftists? Well, we've already talked a lot about how the veterans coming back from the war want normalcy and are embracing family values, and are embracing capitalism as the means to provide stability for their families. So that's all there already. We talked about that. There's also, as we've talked about earlier this week, this real opposition to any kind of appeasement, right, of Stalin or of communism's expansion, okay? And so they're thinking in terms of what happened in the 1930s with Hitler and the need to take a strong, tough stance against communism to prevent its spread, okay? And, you know, the defeat of Hitler and the defeat of fascism means that fascism is not really a global threat anymore. The remaining totalitarian power in the world is the communist threat of Stalin and other communist governments emerging, especially in China and Korea and other communist movements around the world. So communism is the threat and not fascism, okay? Now, why are the leftists really retreating from politics? Because if we think about the Communist Party or the Socialist Party in the United States, two different parties, right? They've never been that influential. They've never had that much membership, right? Well, starting in 1945, their membership in the Communist Party in the United States declines pretty drastically, okay? And part of that is many people becoming more conservative, but part of it is also the fact that the Communist Party leaders themselves are looking at Moscow for direction or inspiration. And a lot of leftists, you know, even if they are committed to Marxism, recognize that looking to Stalin is not good. They're like, why are you looking there? Don't look there. Bad place to look. And so they see that this is really, not only is it really a bad idea, but it's also just like alienating every portion of American culture from the Communist Party. And so they're saying, look, this is a useless institution. It's not going anywhere. And so there's no point in belonging to it anymore. So a lot of communists leave the party, and they're turning to other things, culture, to try to influence society that way, or just kind of working within labor unions or other places to try to have some kind of gradual reforms, okay? And so they stop pushing for immediate political revolution because they see it's just not gonna happen in 1945 going on into the 50s, okay? It's not effective, all right? Now the fear of communism grows as the Cold War intensifies and as the threat of nuclear war intensifies, okay? And both political parties are firmly committed to an anti-communist stance in the late 1940s. Truman himself initiates these loyalty tests within his administration for the FBI to go in and investigate federal employees, you know, make sure they're not communists, right? And local governments are forbidding communists from holding office or teaching in schools. And about maybe like 600 teachers or professors lose their positions because they are communists or have ties to communists. And some universities institute anti-communist oaths that people have to take, okay? In Hollywood, starting in the 1950s, there's blacklisting of those who are deemed to have ties to communism. They're not allowed to. The entertainment industry kind of puts restrictions on them, says don't hire these screenwriters or these actors because they have ties to communism. So all different industries are affected by this. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is purging people that might be too radical. Labor unions are trying to get rid of anyone who might be a communist or have ties to communism or be a former communist, okay? So liberal institutions are also kind of involved in this growth of the conservative consensus as well. And in 1952, you have the election of Dwight D. Eisenhower. His running mate is, you know, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, you know, Tricky Dick, as he was called, who, you know, whatever. Okay, so he's like going to be around for a while. Anyway, but by 1952, the Republicans, who are even more firm in their rhetoric with regard to an anti-communist stance, and some of whom are accusing Democrats of having been infiltrated by communism, you know, they are in control of the White House. They're in control of the House and the Senate, which there were gains made there in the 1950s. And again, 1952. So the Republicans are in the ascendancy, and that's really an indication of extent to which the conservative consensus has taken root in America.